anybody else? Well, I know Gene Warnick, Daily News sports editor, who was for a time co-sports editor with Matt, has a lot to say about Matt. I don't know anybody whose circle of work associates and circle of friends intersected so completely like Matt's. And Gene is an example of somebody who quickly became a close friend, maybe Matt's closest friend in the newsroom. Gene, tell the story.
Well, thank you, Kevin. First of all, Gary and Kevin deserve a loud round of applause for setting this up. First of all, I want to note that Modesti is still adhering to the dress policy, even though he's railing against it. I think he still qualifies. And Gary, if you Googled something about Matt, you're right, he would have never found that. So that's okay. When I came down here 3 years ago to interview for a job, I went back to Fresno and people asked me, how did it go? And I said, I couldn't remember a time where I laughed more or smiled more in the newsroom. And that was 98% because of Matt. From the moment we met, he was, you know, a longtime friend. Matt was my best friend. And I know some of you are sitting there thinking the same thing, which I think maybe is the greatest measure of the man, is that most of us just have one best friend in a lifetime. He had dozens. We've got food and drink. Let someone else talk. I don't need to do this. Come on. Find someone else.
Matt's special, and you think I have prepared remarks, and that would scare all of you, but I don't. It's a letter from Matt, and I'm not reading all of it. But I just read a little excerpt from it. And I gotta say thank you again. The ballpark is obviously the best place. And I know Matt from the Pasadena Star News. When he just came there, he was doing agate, and it's absolutely right that he worked for nothing. And he did just want to be in the business. And I welcome any of the other Star News people. But what he was doing before was, you know, working on moving vans. He was a mover. And then after scoreboards, he went to, well, I think actually he tells great stories, as you all know, but I think he was doing a Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl where they just set him out as a practice, and we said, my God, this guy's got something. And it was in the era of all sports, so it was all hands on deck, 6 and 7 days a week. There was no such thing as a 5-day week there. And then we just finished, and then we did close down bars, and then somebody wrote about Tommy's, and there was no problem with 3 Tommy's burgers in a night when it's Matt, just guys, you know. And then we go out to the beach in Santa Monica, you know, 5 in the morning. You know me now, you would not think that was Matt. Anyway, I think of the ballpark because one of the things we did with the Star News and All Sports is we tried to get along with advertising, you know, and all that, try to come together. And so we had 2 teams, and one of the teams was the revenue makers, and one of them was revenue wasters. And I'm proud to say that the cleanup hitter on the revenue wasters was indeed Matt McHale. So, you know, honestly, I have better letters from Matt, but this is, and as somebody said, he just tailored it to whoever you were. I do have to say he always wanted to be a better writer. There was, you know, he has a line in here about, I can't help but think maybe a little prodding I could have found the amphetamines in the trunk of Dewey Hoyt's car. So I don't know if you remember back then, but he never forgot. And he talked about, I think there is a buzz to covering the game, meaning baseball, and it's hard to find anywhere else. What he liked about hockey and anything else, the first thing we sent him out to was the Lakers. He said, well, I don't know anything about the NBA. And then it was the people. I mean, this whole magic was the people. I think that's why everybody's here, really, is the people. And so to me, the first thing I really assigned him to was the Olympics, and in all my brilliance, I sent him to gymnastics. We had nothing but he had to cover thing. And he covered the opening ceremonies, and even though he was, and it was, I still remember the 1984 Summer Games as 2 of the best weeks of my life. It was nothing but pure adrenaline. Roger Murray and Steve Hunt worried about terrorists and traffic, and you let the kid have all the fun. Sitting in the bright sun at the opening ceremonies next to Jim Murray, listening to George Goodwin, that's supposed to be Gershwin, and wondering if it could possibly be better than this. Eddie Storton even liked my lead. Here's this lead. It was a Rhapsody in red, white, and blue. Said, now I'm the old guy, but at the Olympics you're 25 forever. Living at the beach has turned out to be fun. You can see it's a little bit old. I managed to slip away for an hour on sunny days and put my toes in the sand. The couple down the hall is still having sex every morning at 6:30, so I never miss a flight. Hope all is well with you and you had a terrific holiday. See you this summer at the White Sox game. Love, man.
Matt's lead on the Dodgers World Series victory when they won it in '88 was a Rhapsody in Dodger blue. So Gershwin obviously meant a lot. Whatever. You know, because journalism requires the opposing view, I keep hoping that T.J. Simers will work up the nerve to come down and give us his thoughts on Matt. But while he's doing that, Rich Hammond of the Daily News knew Matt in various capacities, usually following Matt in assignments, which was a tough thing to do. But to tell us about working with Matt.
Yeah, I think one of the last things I said to Matt actually was that I was sorry for taking every job he ever had. I did it twice, but those are still very big shoes to fill. It's been great to hear so many of your stories, because I feel like even though I knew Matt for so long and worked with him for so long, that I didn't know him as well as I should have, and that was because he was so selfless. And whenever he called you, it was always about you. It was never about him. He always wanted to know how you were doing, how your vacation was going, how your stories were coming. And even though he went through a lot of challenges himself, he always took himself out of those phone calls. And not until now do I really appreciate what he was doing, and do I really appreciate how much I wish I had asked more about him. I got to be Matt's backup on the Kings, which was an interesting challenge. I kind of lost track at some point of how many 4 p.m. phone calls I got from the office saying, can you cover the Kings game tonight? Matt didn't make it back from St. Louis, and I thought, okay, he taught me to always stay on my toes and to always be ready. But the most gratifying work I got to do with Matt was when he was in the office, and he was such a shepherd to all of us writers. And the number of times that I called him when I was working on a story, and I just had this notebook full of notes and quotes, and I had no idea what to do with it. And I would talk to Matt for 10 minutes, and he would listen, as he always did, and then he would just come up with the perfect advice. He would come up with the perfect lead, with the perfect angle, with the perfect nut graph, and I got off the phone and I said, I have my story. And I can never put into words how much I appreciated that. The one thing that I'll always remember was the end of the 2004 baseball season, near the end, and I'd gone down to San Diego to work on a couple Dodger features, looking ahead to the playoffs, and I wrote them, and they ran, and Matt called me the next day, and he said, I read your stories. I said, okay. He proceeded to talk about the first one, and he said, it wasn't good. I said, okay. And he proceeded to tell me about 5 reasons why it wasn't good and how it could have been better. And then he got to the other one, and he said, it was fantastic. And then he proceeded to tell me 5 reasons why he thought it was so good. And I thought, that was so Matt. He had just such a way with people, and he could be honest with you, and he could give you some criticism when you needed it. But you were always able to accept it because you know it was coming from the heart, and you knew he cared, and he knew he always wanted to make you better. And I can't thank him enough for that. I wish I'd gotten a chance to thank him more, but he's meant a ton to my career, and I'll miss him a lot.